Correctional Services Commissioner Makgoti Tobakgale, who has been at Kgosi Correctional Centre to visit Thabo Bester. It was part of an oversight visit. He had also earlier visited Dr. Nandipa Madugumana in Kroonstad. Now, senior reporter Silindelo Masikane joins us from the prison in Pretoria, just outside the prison, as it were. Slee, the Commissioner went to great lengths before he entered into the cell where Thabo Bester was being held to deny any claims that both Thabo Bester or Dr. Nandipa Madugumana was receiving any special treatment.
Certainly went to great lengths to try and clarify the speculation, the rumors around special treatment, preferential treatment that Dr. Madugumana as well as Thabo Bester are receiving. So our colleague Aviwa Mdila was in Kroonstad for that leg of the visit at the Bizo Makgathe Correctional Facility that houses women in the Free State. And from what we understand from that visit is that Dr. Nandipa is being held at the hospital wing of that prison, saying it is not preferential treatment, but rather due to the classification as an awaiting trial prisoner, saying that she's being housed there because this is a high-profile case and they need, almost, more security around where she's being housed, and also trying to limit the interaction she has with a number of awaiting trial prisoners, as well as also trying to limit her access to possible contraband or getting an access to a cell phone. We have seen with the likes of Rosemary Ndlovu how easy it is to get a cell phone into a prison. So the Commissioner also going on to say that that is something that they are trying to address, that it is a major issue in prisons, and that they are actually looking at possibly trying to limit cell phone coverage inside prisons due to the fact that they do have this issue of prisoners being able to get access to technology like cell phones. But where I am now, Marcel, is of course at the Kgosi CMAX prison, where we are actually in the section, or just outside the section, where Thabo Bester is being held, where you would understand that this is where convicts who are classified as being very high risk are being held in isolation. So we got to walk through this particular section with the Commissioner, who was interacting with officials, and as we got outside Bester's cell, you were able to see a notice of sort outside, of course, that shows that it's his cell. And as we got into the media briefing, Thabo Bester then could be heard trying to shout, saying that he doesn't consent to being tormented. And this is at the point at where the media was asking whether he had been consented or had been asked or had been told that there was going to be this oversight visit, and was he aware that he could possibly be filmed in his cell. So the Commissioner then made a point before going into his cell to first get permission or to first ask Bester if he wants to be filmed, and he said he didn't want to be filmed. The Commissioner then proceeded to have a brief conversation with him. When the Commissioner came out, he came out with a letter that he had been handed by Bester, saying that he would have a look through it, but that in the conversation there were no issues raised around torment, but that he would, of course, then read his letter and address any issues that he has. But for the most part, the Commissioner is satisfied that speculation and rumors around preferential treatment are just simply just that, and that the prisoners themselves, Bester as well as Dr. Nandipa, are just being housed in a manner of that classification of being high risk. But let's just take a listen to what the Commissioner had to say during that media briefing.
She is not receiving special treatment. We were with the area commissioner there. We also confirmed that she is following the same program that all offenders are following. She's eating the same food that they are eating. I had a discussion with her, because that's what we do when we visit correctional facilities. We check if offenders or remandees have got complaints, and we check if their complaints are attended to. She is being kept in the section that is a hospital section, because of the fact that, number one, the investigation is still continuing on this case. Number two, she's a high-profile offender who needs to be guarded at all times. Number three, that section is a high-security section, so she does not have access or interaction with other offenders. The interaction with the officials is limited to those that work in that section.
The Commissioner there, Asli, speaking about the set of circumstances under which Dr. Nandipa Magudumana is being held, the hospital section, it seems, over there. But let's speak to what you experienced today. I remember when you still had your cameras running just after the Commissioner spoke to the media, and we watched person after person enter that cell where Thabo Bester is being held. So it did seem like quite a few people could fit in there. What was the sense that you got as you moved into that section where Thabo Bester was being held? The Commissioner speaking there again about how both of them are being kept in high security with no access or interaction with other inmates or offenders or prisoners, call them what you will, only with members of the correctional services staff or the people they're in contact with. Did you get that sense of the atmosphere there when entering into that area? Can you paint that picture for us?
With Dr. Nandipa in particular, Marcel, we know that she does have access or limited access with other awaiting trial prisoners. That number is just smaller than at the normal cells, because they do want to be able to control the number of people that she has around her for safety and security concerns. With Bester in particular, who of course is something quite different, he is already a convicted felon. So you would understand the mere fact that he was able to escape from the Mangaung correctional facility in the Free State. There are now heightened security measures around him. So where we are right now with my colleague Mohammed, you can see that in fact it is a very restricted area of Kgosi-Mampuru prison, and this is where we know that very high risk convicts are being kept in single cells. The cells, I wouldn't say they're quite small, they're just normal in size, I guess. There's a single bed in there, and where Bester is in particular, you can tell that there aren't a lot of cells in that section. There's at least maybe 4 cells in the particular section where he's being held. And so you can tell that the heightened security measures around him are to ensure that, he gets limited access to people. But he does, of course, that section does allow him to have visitors, if they are approved. And of course, his legal team as well is able to come here and consult with him. We actually posed to the Commissioner whether, correctional services could possibly make an application for him to remain here for the appearance on the 8th of August. Because remember, we do have all 12 accused or implicated in the escape returning to the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court for another appearance on the 8th of August. And he said that he didn't want to get into it, but that if it was up to him, he would really much prefer that Bester appears virtually, just because of the fact that it is such a high risk to travel with him from Pretoria to Bloemfontein for what we do expect to be just a mere postponement. But let's just take a listen once more to what the Commissioner had to say during that media briefing.
I went in, I discussed with him. He also gave me this, which he said I must go through. I'm going to go through and I'm going to give him feedback.
Are you perhaps then satisfied with where he's being housed as an oversight visit? You have classified him as a high-risk convict. Are you satisfied with how he's being housed here at Kgosi-Mampuru? Also, Kgosi-Mampuru is another prison where escapes have also happened. Are you concerned he might escape from here as well? He might be able to bribe officials here as well?
Well, I am not concerned about that, because the system that we have put in place and the officials that work around him, are officials that do their work with excellence. So I have indicated that the security system here is a high-tech security system. It's what we call the integrated security system. It's controlled from the control room also and works perfectly.
We'll leave it there with our reporter Silindelo Masikane, bringing us the very latest with regard to that story, reporting to us live there from outside the Kgosi Mampuru prison, high security one at that, in Pretoria.